Did you know the real story behind Wrong Turn is far more disturbing than the movie? Ohio town called Ravens Hollow was home to a family known as the Crows. Locals whispered they practiced forbidden rituals and spoke to something in the woods. One stormy night, neighbors set their house on fire, hoping to end the curse. But the Crows survived and vanished into the forest. Weeks later, travelers began disappearing near Ravenwood. Those who escaped mentioned traps, guttural whispers, and black feathers drifting through the trees. One survivor swore he heard voices say, "You burned us alive. Now we burn your world."
Before they became the terrifying cannibals seen in the movies, their lives were defined by extreme poverty, isolation, and a slow environmental tragedy. In the 1950s, Maynard Odet was a standard blue-collar worker. He worked at the Hope Creek Pulp and Paper Mill, sometimes referred to as the Richmond White Paper Mill. He was married to a woman named Delilah, and they lived in a small, isolated cabin in the mountains. At this point, they weren't killers. They were just mountain people trying to get by in a dying industrial town. The normal life ended when the paper mill began dumping toxic chemicals and radioactive waste into the local river. The chemicals caused severe genetic mutations in their children. They were born with congenital analgesia, meaning they couldn't feel pain, and were physically deformed.
The true story of Wrong Turn. In the 1950s, in the small town of Ravens Hollow, Ohio, there was a family called the Crow family. The Crows lived in an old house on the edge of Ravenwood Forest. People in town hated them because of their looks, saying they were strange and didn't belong. One night, the townspeople set fire to their house, thinking they were getting rid of a curse, but the Crow family survived. They disappeared into the forest, angry and broken. From that day on, they swore revenge. Years later, people began to vanish near Ravenwood Forest. Hikers, travelers, even townsfolk. Survivors say the Crows hunt and eat people as payback for what the town did to them. They hunt anyone who enters the forest, setting deadly traps, pits lined with spikes, hidden bear traps, and hanging wire nooses. They laugh when they hunt, and they drag their victims underground to eat them. The only thing they leave behind is a bloody crow feather. In the 1980s, a girl named Emily escaped after her friends disappeared while camping. She said the crows whispered as they chased her, "You burned us. Now we burn you." State authorities began reviewing a cluster of disappearances linked to a single forest road that did not appear on updated maps. The missing were travelers, campers, drivers who reported taking a shortcut through the Appalachian backroads. At first, the cases were treated as routine wilderness disappearances. The terrain was harsh, the weather unpredictable. However, medical reports from 2 recovered survivors raised concern. Both displayed signs of prolonged captivity, severe malnutrition, and injuries consistent with blunt force restraint. More troubling were their statements. They described people living deep in the forest, physically deformed with impaired speech and abnormal gait. State investigators followed the road and located several unregistered dwellings constructed from scavenged materials. Inside, they found evidence of long-term habitation, intermarriage,